was recommended. It was a request, actually, made yesterday. Smile, you're smiling. The topic is basically why we have Buddhism in the first place. Nibbana. So it can't get more to the point than that. Nibbana, or in Sanskrit, Nirvana. Many teachers, many speakers try to stay away from this because it's such a tough one to wrap your mind around, or unwrap your mind from around, being around. So, but the way that I wanted to approach today's topic was through one individual from Buddhist history. This individual was the major lay disciple who was known for his donations, for his generosity. The person I'm speaking of is Anathapindika. He was a very, very well-known and wealthy individual. I've always been moved by the story as to how he met the Buddha. This is an individual, along with Visakha. Visakha was the female lay disciple of the Buddha who was more wealthy than the king. The king would borrow money from her, and also from Anathapindika, the male lay disciple. So one day, Anathapindika is visiting his brother-in-law, and he sees this huge commotion in the palace, because they lived in palaces. They were so wealthy. So Anathapindika looks at his brother-in-law, and for the first time his brother-in-law is not paying attention to him, because they used to really like each other. So Anathapindika thinks, what's going on? What's so different? So he asks him, is there anyone getting married? Is there, do you have guests coming, a family or royalty? And the brother-in-law in that commotion says, no. Just go over there, sit over there, just don't bother me, type of a thing. I'm taking care of this and that. And then the brother-in-law says, the Buddha, the Blessed One, is coming tomorrow. I've invited him and the bhikkhus to come for lunch, for their meal. And that triggers something in Anathapindika. He pauses and he asks the brother-in-law, who did you say is coming? He says, the Blessed One, the Buddha. Did you say the Buddha, the Blessed One? He says, yes. That triggers, as if there were a seed left over in his, call it subconscious, or somewhere in his mind. So that night he can't sleep. He gets up early in the morning and he starts heading out. He asks the servants and whatever, where is the Buddha located? Where is he? In which direction? So he sets out from the palace walls and he starts walking early in the morning, before dawn. And as he's walking through the mist, it's so dark, something in him feels fear. There's terror there. He's like, what are you doing? You don't even know the Blessed One. You don't even know the Buddha. How do you know he's going to have time for you? Plus, it's too early. And then he gets scared from just the surrounding, the mist and all that. And he's thinking of pulling back. He turns around. As he's doing that, he hears a voice that says this verse: 100,000 elephants, 100,000 stallions, 100,000 horse-drawn carriages at full speed, 100,000 maidens, those days, cannot equal 1/16th part of a single step taken forward. And with that encouragement, he walks through the mist. And as he approaches the monastery where the Buddha was temporarily staying at, he sees this individual walking so serenely back and forth. It was the Buddha doing walking meditation. And from afar, the Buddha says, "Come, Sudatta, come." Sudatta was his given name, Anathapindika's, but no one called him, dared to call him that. No one knew. Many of the people didn't know. And he's startled. He's like, oh, how does this person know me? And as he approaches, he sees the Buddha, and just his demeanor, he just falls on his knees and he pays respect to the Buddha. The Buddha then encourages Anathapindika, knowing full well that he was a person who was dedicated to generosity. And that's how he got his name, Anathapindika. Pindika means like a morsel of food. When monks go for pindapada, pindapada is when you're going for a pinda. Pinda is the morsel of food that people place inside the alms bowl. So Anathapindika is a person who gave food to the poor and the refugees. So that's how he had gotten his name. So the Buddha cherishes and encourages further Anathapindika on the facts of and the benefits of generosity. However, as he is going deeper into the teaching, he speaks on virtue, which is sila, the power of the precepts. And then finally, when he sees the mind of Anathapindika settling into the Dhamma, slowly he unravels his discourse on the Four Noble Truths. And by the end of that discourse, Anathapindika becomes a Sotapanna, which is the beginning of the portion of the talk today. Sotapanna is a stream enterer, a person who's past the point of no return. What we mean by that is a person who is no longer destined to the lower realms. If you've heard any mention of the lower realms in the Theravada tradition, or in Buddhism in general, you have lower realms that lower compared to the human realm. We have the hell realms, we have the ghost realms. These are not legends or folk tales or whatever. So once a person becomes a Sotapanna or a stream enterer, that person is no longer bound at any point in the future to fall into any of these realms. Okay, let's take a step back. In Buddhism, we have what the Buddha called Putujjana. Putujjana is an ordinary worldling, ordinary human being. Some translators have used the term uneducated worldling, ordinary individual who is so far from studying or even getting deep into the teachings. Ordinary, Putujjana. Compared to Arya Puggala. Arya means noble. Noble ones, noble disciples. And there are 8 of the Arya Puggalas. There are 4 stages in the teachings as far as the Dhamma tells us. There's 4 layers of awakening. The first of which is what I mentioned earlier, that Anathapindika reached, Sotapanna stage, stream enterer. Now why do we say stream first of all? We say stream because it is a current moving in one direction. If you throw something into the stream, where does it go? In one direction, wherever it's being pulled into or gravity is taking them into. Current, the waves. By that same token, when we say stream enterer, that individual who has passed this point of no return, meaning has gone over that hump of being just a mere ordinary worldling, there's no way that he or she could return, could regress, could fall back. At the most, they have 7, at the most, very most, they have 7 more lives until they reach Nibbana. I think the Buddha was just being too generous with the 7, because I've never come across anyone who actually had to wait out that long to become an arahant. 7 lives, because just in case the person becomes extremely negligent, not caring about doing the precepts or following anything, just... Okay, so that's the Sotapanna part. Okay, so why the 8? Arya Puggala, 8 of them. Why? Well, remember the 4 stages? The first of which is the Sotapanna, or stream enterer. Each of these stages have 2 aspects to them. When a person nears that stage, it's shocking, but it's still unstable. The person gets to see, gets the glimpse of the view. They have the view. They have the Dhamma eye for the first time, ever in their existences, all throughout samsara, for the first time. But it's still unsteady. The Buddha called that magga. Magga means path. Meaning you're almost on the cusp. You're not fully stable. For that, it's the second aspect that is needed for it to take place, which is the phala, or the fruit. The fruit of what? The fruit of Sotapanna. Once the person experiences that, then we call that person a person who has reached the fruit of stream enterer. From that stage, there's no falling back. A person can fall back from the magga stage if they have not settled. Meditation teachers who help students to reach these stages always encourage them, the moment they get close to the Sotapanna stage, to really be diligent, not to pull back. It's so critical. It's like really getting it. It's like when you're using 2 pieces of dry wood to kind of start a fire. Some people might get close, it's like, come on, it's like it's not working. I was like, you were so close. It's very similar to that. Okay, so that's the first stage. Then the second stage comes in with the once returner. This is a person who only comes back to human life, worldly life, one more time. Again, guess what? This also has the magga and the phala, meaning the path and the fruit. And the one after that is the anagami. Anagami is a person who will no longer come to this existence ever again. And the Buddha explains how they are reborn in a special realm. They're called pure abodes, pure realms, that only anagamis are reborn into. And there's only one way out. They will become arahants. Either at landing, during, or at the moment of when their merits run out at that point and they're about to go into parinibbana. And then we get to, that also has the magga and phala. And then we get to the 4th stage, which is the arahant. The arahant also has the magga and the phala, or the path and the fruit. So, I know most of the time teachers don't get into this subject because it's usually kept in the books unless specific questions are asked. Okay, what is distinguishing these stages from each other? That's another question that might arise. The Buddha explained 10 fetters, the presence of 10 fetters in an ordinary person. If you recall the word putujjana, ordinary worldling, or an uneducated person, someone who has not been disciplined in the Dhamma, in the precepts, is therefore not on the path. Is a person who has all these 10 fetters. Well, what are they? Okay. We have 5 groups. There's 2 of them. 5 and then 5. The first one are called the 5 lower fetters, and the second group are called the 5 higher or upper fetters. But they're fetters. The first one, Sakkaya Ditthi, or the idea, this adherence to me, this idea of a selfhood, this independent entity that I call myself, my characteristics, my this, my opinions, why I don't like this teaching, why I disagree with this teacher. Oh, this is a bunch of nonsense. All that stems from this Sakkaya Ditthi, which is at the crux of wrong view. In Buddhism we have the Eightfold Path, the first of which is right view. So Sakkaya Ditthi is the absence or the challenger of right view. So the first fetter is Sakkaya Ditthi, or this personality, adherence to this personality idea, emotionally connected to that, glued to it. Second is skeptical doubt, Vicikicca. Vicikicca means it's a second fetter, you can call it. It doesn't matter the order, by the way. Skeptical doubt of what? The teachings, the teacher, the Dhamma. If you've ever practiced meditation, you're like, am I doing it right? I don't know. I don't agree with this teaching. What is this? This is all just mumbo-jumbo nonsense. Remember, even at the time of the Buddha, people who were sitting at his feet, including nuns and monks, many of them had skeptical doubt, which is the very reason why not everyone became even a Sotapanna. Not everyone. But it's beautiful because at times you read in the suttas how the Buddha smiles as he's glancing over the crowd of the Sangha. And Ananda, Venerable Ananda, turns and asks him, Lord, it is known that Tathagatas don't smile just for nothing. So there is a meaning behind this. So please, pray, tell us, why are you smiling? And he says, Ananda, I looked around and I scanned everyone's mind, and I saw that the lowest level that an individual in this crowd has reached was that of a Sotapanna. Everyone else, wow, just imagine the energy. So there are many times in the suttas where we see the Buddha was surrounded by just awakened beings, but not always. So the second fetter, or sangyojana, they're called sangyojana in Pali, they're like fetters, they bind us. They don't allow us to move, to grow in our practice. Skeptical doubt. And then the third one is Silambata Paramasa. What that means is rites and rituals, adhering to rites and rituals. If I do these steps, doom, that's it. I'm going to actually experience Nibbana. If I do this many prostrations, if I say, or if I go on a pilgrimage, that's when I'm going to get, or if I fast 7 days, non-stop, and chant, or just meditate non-stop, that itself is going to get me. No, these are all rites and rituals. And we ourselves have our own rites and rituals. Individually, we've established ourselves some rites and rituals, ceremonies, and things like that. And therefore, binding ourselves to such a position is a fetter. Now, what distinguishes a Sotapanna is the moment they experience Nibbana, these three just vanish. Simple as that. They're no more. It's a personality shift. It's like walking into a dark room and someone just switched on the light. Boom, where's the darkness? It's gone. Which direction? It's gone. That is the reason why I mentioned how the person has passed beyond the point of no return. That is a person we call a person who has the Dhamma eye. The vision of Dhamma has arisen in that person. That person will identify what is Dhamma, what is not Dhamma, like that. Irrespective of who's saying what. Because they have seen it. In the suttas and commentaries we have this image. Imagine a person going up a hill, and it's a meandering road, narrow pathway, and it's between the cliffs and valleys. Why? They are on a journey to see a certain peak, a certain mountain, a mountaintop, a summit. But they have been doing this out of faith. For whatever reason. Something triggered in them at one point in their lives that they said, I'm going to be on this path. I'm going to go looking for it. And there are times on this journey that they are about to meander and they're about to turn a corner on a side of a mountain, and boom, right there they see the mountain for the first time. That is the magga of Sotapanna. That is the path of a Sotapanna. Now go ahead and talk to that person and say, no, the mountain doesn't exist. We have never seen it. Good luck convincing them otherwise. Because they've seen it. They know. That's why we call it the vision of Dhamma. The vision of Dhamma. And as a person progresses through diligence, through ardor, through zeal, through effort, through consistent effort, through meditation, residing alone, practicing and practicing, that person gets to the level of fruit. And as they progress, guess what happens? I mentioned the 5 lower fetters. There's 2 remaining, right? One is Kama Raga or Kama Chanda, meaning sensual desire, craving, covetousness, coveting for something. And then the other one, out of the 5, is Vyapada, or ill will, aversion, hatred, anger. Just anger. Now, as we're moving up, as the person is developing, if they get to the Sakadagami stage, which is the once returner, what is happening in this person is now these extra 2 fetters, they get weaker. It's like that tooth that is not coming off, when we're children or whatever. It's almost there, but it's not. For some of us, it's different gradations of intensity of how hardly it's holding on to the roots, to the gum. And as the person develops and they're adhering to the precepts, eventually these 2 come off. And that person has now gone beyond the first 5 lower fetters. Meaning they are beyond Sakaya Ditti, personality, rites and rituals, skeptical doubt, craving or lusting for things, and anger or ill will. Now this person cannot lust after anything. Yesterday this question came up by one of the meditators, and I said, this person might have wanted to be in a harem yesterday. So much into lusting after things, sensuality, this yesterday, or half an hour earlier, or 5 minutes before they get to be an anagami. But once they are, they find it extremely, extremely disgusting, intolerable. They will look away. Even a thought would be quite disheartening. It's called viraga, or dispassion, that reached an apex, a climax. So this is now, we're on the 3rd stage. So for the 3rd stage, all the lower 5 fetters are gone. They don't exist for this person. Next we get to the 5 higher samyojanas. Now these are tough cookies to beat, because now we're talking about someone who is tackling them, and lay people, the Buddha describes, and suttas describe, commentaries support it also. We cannot experience it in this and stay lay people. You might experience it as a lay person. You can become an arahant. However, we have a limited time. Some teachers have said you have 1 day until you put on the robes. You become ordained. Some teachers have said you have a week. Some teachers, I think they've said you have a few weeks. So I mentioned yesterday during the Q&A session after the retreat how the Buddha's own father attained the level of arahantship on his deathbed before he died. And we have several different examples in the suttas where lay people have attained arahantship, however, they didn't live too long to, as lay people, to talk about it, to write about it. Why? This is a crucial question because I personally struggled with this. Like, why not? What are we, being some kind of an ist? Suffix? And then, as we practice, we see how, as one progresses from the stages one to the next, the disenchantment is growing exponentially. So, as meditation teachers, one instructs the student as they're getting on the path to practice it. For example, the Satipatthana or Metta Bhavana or Anapanasati, whatever it is, the meditation technique, to really think twice. Because once you're in it, once you hit Sotapanna, at the most you have 7 lives. You're guaranteed. Guaranteed, that's what the Buddha was saying. So, oftentimes in my earlier talks, all these few years, I've always mentioned how it's very practical. It's very practical, step-by-step guide that the Buddha offered us. Well, this is the culmination that the Buddha helped us to get to. Now, many people might put this Nibbana thing out there as a possibility one day in the future, maybe in another life. But that is distancing ourselves from a possibility that is very much there. How do we know? A very small experiment that you can do. I mentioned before how dukkha, in order for it to be dukkha, suffering, in order for us to experience suffering, there needs to be attachment. If we don't have attachment, suffering falls apart. Falls apart. It's like the beads that you wear around your neck. It has a string, a thread going through it. Cut the thread. What happens to the beads? Exactly. Now, a few things happen. Let's come back to the Sotapanna part. There's so many places in the suttas where it is beautifully described. One of them is in the Anguttara Nikaya, Book of the Fives, the 26th sutta, where the Buddha describes how there's 5 ways that a person can attain Nibbana. Any of them. Any of the stages. The first one is hearing, listening to the Dhamma. Listening to the Dhamma, listening to the teachings. Or reading them. Second is when someone is teaching the Dhamma. Teaching the Dhamma. While the person is teaching, they attain Nibbana. That's the second. The third one is when a person is reciting on their own, whether it's reading and just going over, okay, there's some suttas, some sections that we just love. We just like want to go back. It's like, I don't get that. Like, let me try it again. Let me try. What are they trying to say? I know there's something there that I'm not picking up. What is? As the person is doing that, and they're in an open state. Remember the skeptical doubt? We have to leave that outside the door. At that moment, because of the person repeating and recollecting, the person experiences Nibbana. Now there's a fourth one. As a person reflects, thinks about, processes, reads, maybe even research on some level, ponders on constantly, so that becomes their, almost like a breath. Always, their mind always kind of circles the drain almost, like that drain being, why? What is that meaning? What is that? all of a sudden the person experiences Nibbana. There's one particular, it's actually from the Therigatas, one of the bhikkhunis, one of the nuns, Buddhist nuns, who had gone through so much hell as a layperson and then becomes a bhikkhuni, and she's sitting meditating, and then she gets up, and then she is about to go to bed, to sleep for a few hours, because she strove so much that night. As she's turning off, just blowing out the candle, boom! She experiences Nibbana, Arahantship. Why? Because she was always on it. She was on it. It didn't slip by her. She was seeing everything in connection to the Dhamma. Nothing escapes her eyes. And then the fifth way that a person can become one who experiences Nibbana, any of the stages again, is a person who is always with their meditation object. If you are a person who's always on your breath, you're never letting it go, you're just observing, or you're observing your thoughts, or your feelings, the three different natures of feeling, good, pleasant, painful, or neither pleasant or painful. You're always seeing, oh, this was that, okay, ooh, I hit my knees, ooh, I did da-da-da-da-da. This is a good thought, this is a bad thought. You're always seeing it for what they are. You're observing. That's one example of an object of meditation that all of a sudden flourishes into Nibbanic experience. So when a person experiences the depth of meaning of the Dhamma, gladness arises. When there's gladness, joy arises. When there's joy, the body becomes tranquil. When the body is tranquil and calm, the mind becomes happy, experiences happiness. When the mind becomes happy, the mind becomes collected, like everything coming into one place. When the mind becomes collected, as the person perseveres in this, as the person takes care of this, caters to it, protects it, with zeal, with effort, with ardency, with enthusiasm, with diligence, all of a sudden, whatever was not experienced up until that moment, the unliberated mind becomes liberated. The unexhausted, undestroyed asavas, which are the contaminants, whether they are sensual desire, whether they are the one that involves becoming, wanting to become, or ignorance. These three asavas, these three contaminants, just like that candle, when you blow it out, first there's that whitish, yellowish brilliance on the wick. And then it turns into orangey yellow, and then orange, then dark orange, and then it turns into kind of like a red hue. And then you see the light on the wick gets less and less and reduced less and less and less until it just goes to the tip, and then poof, you see a stream of smoke, and then you're trying to follow the smoke. It just like disperses into nothingness. Just like that, the asavas are exhausted. The contaminants of the mind that keeps us locked into samsara, into rebirth, into coming and going, experiencing suffering, which is gone. And a person experiences the unshakable serenity of mind. Akuppaceto vimutti. The Buddha describes it beautifully. Imperturbable serenity of mind. Unshakable. Now, that unshakability starts from the lowest level of the 8 persons that I mentioned, the Arya Puggala, the first meaning Sotapanna, path stage. You can never, ever, ever be able to shake that person's faith. It's impossible. And by the way, the person can no longer break the precepts. It's impossible. You test them. As teachers, I've seen teachers go ahead and tell a student, tell me a lie. Tell me a lie. But your mind doesn't allow you to. I've seen people try, and it was comical. The person cannot hurt anyone. The person cannot have sexual misconduct. A person might give him, hey, here you go, a bottle of wine. It's like, okay, thank you very much. I can't drink. I can't. I don't know why. I'm a big aficionado of, and I have a ranch up in Napa Valley. I was like, I can't. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm going to do with the whole thing. That's what happens. Disenchantment, dispassion comes in. So the 5 precepts are impossible to be broken in that person, including the lowest stage of an awakened person. That's one of the reasons why they are called noble. And the Buddha called them the Mahasangha. These 8 individuals are the Mahasangha, the noble ones. Because of their attainments. They could be lay people or monastics, ordained. Especially the last stage, the arahants. They have to be monastics. And there are so many examples. For example, Ratana Sutta that the Buddha used in Vesali to help the city of Vesali to get rid of all the nastiness, the negativity, and all the deaths that were occurring. The Ratana Sutta, which we find in the Sutta Nipata, it's almost like a parita or a protection chant. And in it, basically, you see the Buddha advocating the qualifications, the qualities of these stages, these individuals, these noble ones. And also when we chant Itipiso Bhagava, and we come to the 3 different characteristics, 3 different qualities, of the 3 triple gem. We have the Buddha, we have the Dhamma, and then we have the Sangha. For the Sangha, when there is the chanting that these are the ones that are worthy ones to pay respect to, for the Anjali, to donate, to be generous towards. These are the individuals for whom being generous towards, the merits of which is incalculable. Unimaginable. So when you do see one, go ahead and give them something. Just anything. Cup of water. A smile. It's magnificent. Bhante, how are we with time? Oh! Thank you for listening, but Bhante, do we have time for question?
Few questions.
Thank you, Bhante.
Short question, short answer.
Short question, you heard it from Bhante. Yes, Caesar.
Just to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly, you started off with why is there Buddhism? So you started off with why do we have Buddhism?
Mm-hmm.
It's for us to go through these stages. Therefore, once we've gained this and we meet someone who is not going through those stages, you do things like smile, water, compassion, giving, correct? So I make sure I heard that correctly.
Yes, because we're not all there. Right? We're not on those stages. However, that does not stop us from going up the cliff, the mountain. Because we have plenty of evidence. Experiential evidence of this. And that's why the Dhamma is alive. I keep saying to people, it is alive. When you are smiling wholeheartedly, how is your mind? How is your body? Where is the tranquility of your body? Is there gladness in your face, in your heart? Already you're on the path. Keep at it. Be generous with that smile. Practice the precepts. Be virtuous. Cultivate the mind. And always read the suttas. Always read the suttas to understand who before you said what, how. Because there were people just like you and I, sitting across from the Buddha, dealing with their own difficulties in life. that the Buddha had answers for, practical answers for, that they had to apply though. It's application based. So I hope that answers the question. Yes, Isaac.
Thank you again for the lecture, and very profound lecture. It came to my mind to ask you, when Buddha, before Buddha became a Buddha, he came out of the palace, he saw a sick person, an old person, and he saw a yogi. And he followed a yogi for a while, but what he saw on the yogi, that he didn't like it. Because I think that yogis could reach Nibbana as well. And what he didn't like.
Well, it's not a matter of liking or disliking. By the way, the Buddha already knew those 4 signs, and it's just we like to add these interesting elements in stories that the Buddha saw this, and that's when he first saw old age. No, he already knew old age, but we like to give these poetic devices to a story. However, coming back to your question, the Buddha, when he saw a yogi or a mendicant or a recluse, what you had the Buddha do then, because there was no teaching available, so he went not to that yogi, but to the 2 greatest teachers of India at that time, Uddakaramaputra and Alarakalama first. And these were known in India to be the best of the best yogis. So he went to them, and within a very short time, he mastered their technique, to the point where Alarakalama turns to the Bodhisattva, he was not a Buddha then, and he says, he checks him, he tests him, and the Buddha responds, is this how it is? Is this what's happening? Is this what's supposed to happen? And the man goes, yes, you're there, you tasted what I know, and I know what you know. So come, he says, he opens up a seat next to him and says, come, let us guide these yogis together as co-teachers. Look at the humility. And then the Buddha realizes that there's still craving in him. There was no Nibbana. No one at that time had experienced Nibbana. But for that desire, the Buddha goes and seeks out. He says, this is the most we can do, right? And Alarakalama says yes. So he goes looking for another teacher who has a little bit higher level. He finds him, and he practices with him. His main teacher had died. It was his father, Uddakaramaputra, Rama's son. Putta means son. And he does the technique as he's advised. Within a short time, he masters that as well. So the person goes, tests him, and says, okay, you know what I know, and I know what you know. He says, that's actually what, not I know what you know, but because my dad, whatever he knew, you know. Because that teacher, the son of the main teacher, had not reached that level yet. He says, come, take my seat, because you're now a step higher than me. But they had not tasted Nibbana. There's no such thing at the time. That's what necessitates the presence of a Buddha, the coming forth of a Buddha. When the Dhamma, the teaching of it, the 4 Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, are no more, it's a dark age. It's one of the requirements that a Buddha would appear. When there's not a single iota of Dhamma left. None of this that we're sharing. And the Buddha has to go through the ordeals, the Bodhisattva, in order for them to become a Buddha. So I hope that answers your question, and I'll address it more after the sermon, because I don't want to take more than...
There was another Buddhas before this Buddha?
Yes, in eons past.
27.
Thank you.